organization. And so there's a lot of good things that be very good to be there to take advantage of the stuff that's going to be presented. Shots, all right. I offered to give shots as commissioners, but they decided they didn't like the camera spot. So,
Target practice.
other thing I want to remind us. Thank you. What's her name? Gwen? Want to remind us that we have a couple meetings this afternoon after this meeting. One is very important with Senator Hickenlooper. He's making the rounds today, started off up at the north end of the Front Range. He's working his way down here. Going to meet with 3 counties each place to listen to them, not to be lobbied for money or not to do anything other than to understand what our issues, what we think is important, what we're doing, and what we may need some help executing in the future. But it is with Teller County, Fremont County, and us today at Pathfinder Park, just around the corner. And we will be there at 4 o'clock. And before that is the mayor's forum as well, and I'll be attending that with Buck Winslow, the mayor. But each county will have an opportunity to speak. We're not going to go around and introduce ourselves and waste a lot of time. We're going to get into what the issues are, what's important to us, what's important from the municipality's point of view, the 2 towns and the county. That was limited to an attendance of 25 people each for all 3 counties. So it'll be very interesting. And I think because it is an open meeting and 2 or more commissioners can be there, we got that announcement out. Public can go, but they won't be able to interact much. But if you wanted to see what's going on, you certainly could. So that's that issue. That's all I have right now.
All right. Mr.
Oh,
Flower.
one other last thing, because before you opened your mouth, airport board meeting went very well. And so we are on track with the chips, the crack sealing and painting, and they're going to have that done by before the end of the month of May. So things should be ready for the Air Fest before we get started with the fuel farm program. That's all I got.
All right, Commissioner Flower.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me. Since our last commissioner meeting on the 5th of April, I did attend an emergency land use meeting via Zoom with CCI, addressing some legislation, pending legislation. CC, excuse me. The member counties by a majority vote voted to enter into a position of no support for, I think it's HR 230, dealing with the thing that we were most concerned about is this legislation would impinge upon our local control for land use. I think there were 75% of the votes cast were opposed to this or voted to take an opposed position. So I thought that was an important meeting. April the 6th, I attended the CES meeting at the Search and Rescue Building. Been doing some work with recycling, moving forward on some grant stuff. We're still getting ready to submit our final grant to the RREO grant, Rural Resource Economic Opportunity Grant, to purchase some equipment for the recycling group. And I touched base with Vince Cook, Road and Bridge Supervisor, about the road signs for the Clint Smith Lane. He has submitted a request from 811 to do a survey for the date before we plant those posts. So I think that's all I have.
Okay. Not much on mine either. I was at that CES meeting as well. Also had a short meeting with UACOG here the other day, this week, and deal with a couple of grants that they're applying for the Head Start program down there in Fremont County. And then had a meeting with Public Health the other day. I was invited to visit with him for a little while. Good meeting there. And then that would be about all that I would report on this morning. Do you have anything for us today, Jennifer?
No, thank you.
All right. Public comment. So if anyone has anything they'd like to comment at this time on that's not on our agenda, please feel free to do so at this time. Not seeing any hands online and nothing here in the room. We have no unfinished business today. Moving on to new business. First item would be the consideration of modifying the schedule of the RFP for the county maintenance and repair program. So that would be to you, sir.
Yes, sir, I asked to put that on the agenda for a couple of reasons. As you know, we are going through the RFP process, a request for proposal for a county maintenance lead contract, 1-year contract with 3 opportunities to extend it the next year, depending on service. And that would be to maintain all the county buildings, 12 of them, I think we got plus. And the intent there is to have a 911 call, basically an 811 call, fix my stuff in the county building X. Had a lot of participation early on in setting it up. I called a lot of contractors. They called me. They asked what was going on and all that. So I was looking forward to a pretty good turnout. Unfortunately, what happened is when we put the notice in the paper, if you did see it, you need a magnifying glass to read it because it's in the notices that in both papers, a little hard to read. But that's not really the issue. The real issue is it was also put in Facebook and on the county website. So, but it turns out, you think about the old days, technology got with us a little bit today because we had to get this stuff in for everybody to listen in now. That's good. However, there's no yellow pages anymore. You cannot go anywhere and see who are all the contractors in the Custer County. Turns out there's a bunch of them. Guys that are 1-person outfits to big outfits. And you cannot go anywhere and find out and on your own who they are, where they are, and make a phone call. So that became apparent on the day of we were going to have a bidders conference on Monday. We did. And we did have some turnout. That wasn't enough. It became apparent that the main couple people that had really helped a lot with a lot of questions early on as we were putting it out weren't even there. I said, why not? Called them up and they said, well, didn't know it was happening. Why not? It was in the papers, both papers, and on Facebook, it's all of them. I don't get the papers, don't read them, don't have time, I'm out working. And so they weren't aware of it. So, which in the old days with yellow pages, we would have probably gone through and we would have sent requests. We would have looked up addresses and mailed them physically if they were interested to bid. So based on that, and the other thing we learned also was to have a bidders conference is good, to have them come together and understand what if they're confused about the requirements and clarify that so they can bid properly. Problem is we set up a schedule that we thought would be good to have them see the buildings too. And we said, well, we'll start at 9 and end at 4 in the afternoon, whatever it was. Well, you know what? Guys making a living back in the old days and now can't afford all day. They can come in and do it. If they were a big contractor, that's one thing, and they got people to send in and work for them. So it made sense then to reset, move it to the right, schedule over a little bit, and resend it out again, and work with a couple contractors said they would be glad to tell us who they use. Then one guy had his own book. He had like 100. He could come up with 100 names of contractors. Well, how many can you come up with? In a certain discipline, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 11. So I think it's going to be worth asking them, a couple guys, to give us some names and numbers, and so that we can physically send mail to them to bid on it if they want to, or make phone calls, get an email address. Some of them have email addresses, some of them don't. So that's what we'll do. We'll try to move things to the, right, maybe have the bidders conference 8th of May again, with just the questions, we only do it for an hour. And if they have and we'll make ourselves available for, well, as long as it takes, but 1 hour out of their day, they'll be able to adjust their schedules and do some things. Answers by May 11th, maybe, and due by the 15th, and we can do selection on the 17th, perhaps, of May. What's looking like is a good timing. So our actual schedule to, if we select it, then is moved out about 3 weeks, 4 weeks over what it was originally. So as soon as we solidify that, I'll pass out to each of you, Tom and Kevin, and we'll get it, and we'll try to do a better job. As a matter of fact, I think that it would be worth an ad in the paper. And I talked to both papers, they're willing to, a 3x5 column with bullet points and a headline, because this is something new that we've not ever done. It's always been hit or miss or job dependent. Also, this particular contract would also involve if there were a major act of God that blew in the hangar doors out the airport, or just hit the tree, hit the Wetmore building here, then that contractor would be the lead on building the next RFP to put out for bid. And it will cut out the middleman and get us more efficient and getting people hired to fix things as well as to maintain. So that's the reason there. And so I wanted to bring that up because we had agreed where we were today, and I'm hoping that you all agree that we can either have a vote on it, or we can wait till I get it put out. We can vote on it at the end of the month or something. But I think we've got enough information that we can move forward.
So your proposed dates are the 8th, the 11th, the 15th, and the 17th?
Yeah.
For the conference, answers to questions on the 11th. Bids are due back on the 15th and open by the 17th?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything from you, sir?
No, thank you.
So we'll give it a shot and see if we can get, I had a lot of responses. A lot of people said, geez, I wish I'd have known that I'd have been there. I think we'll be successful in the end. So thanks.
So what's your pleasure here today then?
I'm fine by consent.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, me.
All right. Consider the consent.
Done. Sold.
All right. Next item on our agenda then would be the consideration of reallocation of the VSO pickup.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I asked for that to be put on the agenda. I almost moved to amend the agenda to move that down later, post items E and F, but I had a conversation with the manager and the operation manager at Recycles about the potential or the possibility of utilizing that pickup at Recycles that we purchased for the Veteran Service Office, at least in the short term, till we decide what we're going to do with the VSO position. I think a lot of it will depend on the job description, on how we approach that moving forward. So we might be a little premature. If you want to wait until after we have that VSO discussion, I'm fine with that.
I would have waited personally, because that's the cart before the horse, maybe. Hopefully we can get the VSO out quickly and get somebody in there soon. Just know a little bit more about the need for a truck or transportation for that officer.
So would you like to pick this up a little later today?
Yes, that's
or
fine.
at another?
Unless we have a workshop for the VSO, and that would be.
So
I wouldn't, I'm fine with postponing it till later or to the next meeting.
okay.
I can add on to some of that use when it's time for me to talk, sir.
Why don't we move that item down to when we have our VSO discussion at the
Okay.
end of the meeting,
Sure.
and if we can address it then, fine. If not, we can postpone it to another meeting.
Thank you.
But
Great.
moving right along. So we have consideration of proposals for the county attorney. And I believe that Mr. Wilson is here with that.
I have proposals.
Good. How many?
There are two here. All right, so we did put out a request for proposal to several newspapers that included the Daily Record and the Colorado Springs Gazette. Is that what it is?
So we know two attorneys read papers.
Funny enough that, and our local papers, of course. Turns out all of those papers are owned by large companies. I don't know if anybody knew that, like USA Today. So, yesterday was the deadline for submission of proposals, and we received two. So I suppose it's my first time to open those now.
That's great. Can you receive them both in an appropriate time manner?
And yes, timely manner.
That's good enough.
You got it?
That's good.
He's afraid of sharp instruments.
Isn't it? Good thing you keep it away from them.
Here's the first proposal. We asked that they give us 4 copies. That way we could all look at the same thing here. And I guess before we start, the plan for today was to select finalists for interview. And so this isn't necessarily accepting a proposal altogether. It's to decide who we would like to interview, the finalists we would like to interview, and then we would accept those at a later date. Just so everyone's on the same page. Would you like me to read these out loud? How would you like me to go about this?
I don't think at this point it would be necessary, Mr. Chair. There's 4 pages here of maybe the cover letter, but I don't think it's necessary for him to read into the record the resume, do you?
I can read this first page then. So this first proposal is from, I assume this is Tommy Law Firm, TOMME. Says, "Dear Mr. Wilson, this letter is to submit my name for consideration for the Custer County Attorney position. I am licensed in Colorado and have 28 years of experience as a prosecutor in the Taylor County District Attorney's Office, 24 years of that being Director of the Check Fraud Division of the Taylor County District Attorney's Office. As Director of the Check Fraud Division of the Taylor County Criminal District Attorney's Office, I handled the collection, prosecution of all the hot checks in Taylor County and the prosecution of all white-collar crimes such as forgery, credit card abuse, and embezzlement. My responsibilities also included review and making filing decisions on all of the intake presented by all the law enforcement agencies investigating white-collar crimes in Taylor County. Our office also took complaints from citizens, and I oversaw the investigation of those complaints. My cases were indicted in 3 different felony courts, and all the check cases were filed in the 2 county courts at law in Taylor County. My responsibilities also included filing and prosecuting all the civil asset forfeiture cases filed in the 3 Taylor County felony courts. Further responsibilities included overseeing the staff in the office, which included 2 administrative staff and 1 investigator. I was additionally assigned some county responsibilities on an as-needed basis in dealing with county road issues and county contracts with organizations using county facilities. I retired from the Taylor County District Attorney's Office in June of 2017, and then went into private practice doing criminal defense work in Abilene and Dallas, Texas. In March of 2018, I resigned from my employment with Dunham and Jones Law Firm so we could move to Colorado. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Curtis R. Tommy, attorney.
So where's Nick?
Bottom of the page has a West
Has a
Cliff.
West Cliff address.
Has a
Has it been
PO
here
box.
full time? That's a PO box.
I didn't talk with them, I just took the envelope.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you ever say hello?
I didn't actually. Lisa was there, so just took the envelope and sent them on his way. Next proposal. You guys get to open your own selves.
Well, you can use your knife.
I'll use my knife. and pass it around.
Oh, I left mine back in my pocket. Oh, thanks, sir. You might stick yours back in my pocket too. you know.
Yeah, there was.
Second proposal is from Dan Slater. This cover page is much longer.
This cover page is everything.
So I'll kind of do some skim reading. It says, dear sir and madam, it is my pleasure to submit to you this proposal to provide county attorney services to Custer County. I've served governmental entities since my entry into the field of law, and I am proud to represent several governmental entities at this time. Of course, please do not hesitate to contact me if you need further information or clarification on any of these sections. He then breaks down and has an explanation here. First one, name of person primarily responsible for legal services, which would be Daniel B. Slater. Licensure certification, CLE, is licensed to practice in Colorado and in Hawaii, where he does some voluntarily inactive since he doesn't practice there. Professional liability insurance. He carries professional liability insurance, Custer County experience.
I want to read that. It looks several ideas.
Can read that specifically. At this time, I may be the most active civil law attorney in Custer County. I am in Custer County quite often, and I have several private clients with primarily real estate related issues that require resolution. As mentioned above, I'm the town attorney for Silver Cliff, and I represent Custer County DHS. In both of those capacities, I know many of the individuals involved in Custer County governance. The district court judge for Custer County, Lynette Winter, also handles nearly all the civil cases in Fremont County where I am based. Accordingly, I appear in front of her quite often and have a good working relationship with her. He lists potential conflicts of interest, prior county clients and references.
You read the number 5, please, for the record.
The Fremont and Custer County, this is potential conflicts of interest. The Fremont and Custer County communities both have a shortage of skilled professionals, including attorneys. Accordingly, I have a number of clients and cases in Custer County. None of those at the present directly involve the Custer County, except for a current case involving the county clerk and recorder, which has proceeded through hearing and for which we are only awaiting a judicial decision. Further, I am the town attorney for the town of Silver Cliff. As the board knows, there are occasions where the town of Silver Cliff and Custer County interact and must reach various agreements. In those situations, there is a potential for conflict of interest, which would need to be addressed. In my discussions with individual members of the Silver Cliff Board of Trustees, it has been my impression that they are very supportive of my appointment as county attorney.
Thank you.
Prior county clients is number 6. The 3 references he lists here are Kyle Warren, Executive Director of Canyon City Area Metropolitan Recreation Park District, H.A. Buck Wenzel, Mayor of Town of Silver Cliff, and Brenda Jackson, County Attorney county. There's a section here for ability to perform work. Services from other attorneys. And proposed fee arrangement.
Quite a difference between the fees on both of them.
But specific.
Army law was in the very back, last paragraph, 9. To read them out.
Sure. So since we're on and Slater's here, I will read that when it says proposed fee arrangements. My normal hourly rate for walk-in clients is $300 per hour for attorney time and $150 per hour for legal assistant time. For Custer County, I propose the following rates and billing as a significant reduction from my normal hourly rates. A flat hourly rate structure of $135 per hour for attorney time and $65 per hour for legal assistant time, which is what I currently charge for DHS work for the county. The county will agree to pay my registration and lodging expenses, but not mileage or meals for every other annual CCAA conference, beginning with the 2024 conference. Please note that the foregoing only covers fees. All costs will be charged in addition to the fees, including photocopies, faxes, and mileage. Billing will be month to month in conjunction with the county's accounts payable structure. All right, and then for Curtis Tommy, his structure. At the present time, I charge $300 per hour for my time. This includes researching legal issues, preparing any and all documents, and advising the county and its employees. I charge $1,000 per day for each day I am in trial. However, it is my understanding that the previous county attorney had a set monthly salary for unlimited hours in representing the county. I am amenable to the same kind of arrangement.
Didn't say what his salary. Good. Well, I think just looking at them, it would both warrant an interview, I would think. Discussion, it's gonna be hard to decide how we would separate things without getting to the bottom of some of the stuff that might separate them in an interview that you could find. So, sort of like that, when would we propose doing it?
So the next steps that we have proposed in the RFP are to conduct interviews the 17th through the 20th. And then April 27th meeting would be the appointment of county attorney,
When did you say the appointment would be?
the 27th.
27th?
Mr. Chair, I'm out of town for a transportation planning region meeting on the 17th, all-day meeting. We'll have 2 meetings on the 18th, 9 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. And then on the 20th, 911 board. Board of Health, so,
Was there afternoon?
yes. I'll be available the 19th. Morning of the 20th.
Either of those days works for me,
I would be able
those times.
to be available on Friday, the 21st if needed.
Excuse me for a second, I wasn't there yet.
Give them a window then that won't work.
And I do have a conflict on the week of the 17th through the 21st.
Oh, yeah, you're
I
a
will
tourist.
not be in state. I neglected to have this on my calendar, those dates that we had set up. So I would say we might need to amend that at some point.
Now,
We push it to the 24th.
You already have something, you have something scheduled the 24th in the morning and in the afternoon.
job description workshop.
What do we have in the morning?
Morning, you have planning and zoning, job descriptions, discussion. In the afternoon, it's planning commission.
Okay, the only one I had was a planning and zoning,
In the morning.
but I had it in the afternoon and we swapped those.
Correct.
Okay. I am available all day on the 25th.
As am I.
I can do the 25th in the morning. Or we could go over lunch, if we do one at 10 and the other one after lunch, or right after.
Okay,
And I will be gone the rest of that week. So,
I don't have anything on the 25th currently scheduled.
I don't either.
that week you can do it.
Can we see if we can't get these? I have not heard anybody say they were opposed to interviewing both these gentlemen, correct?
Yeah, I think we should.
I would support that.
So if we could reach out to both of these gentlemen and see if we could set up 2 interviews there on the 25th.
Just the morning. Is that right?
Preferably morning.
Could do it on the 14th. That's this Friday. If we wanted to push it.
I won't be available.
You're not.
Okay. I think we should probably, if we have an opportunity on the 24th, maybe get together for a workshop or maybe an executive session to discuss questions or whatever beforehand.
I won't be here on the 24th.
Can we do that first thing on the 25th and then schedule interviews?
We can do that.
I would prefer to have a meeting first and then interview
Yeah.
or a workshop. I would call it a meeting. We just do a little brief workshop.
Okay. So if we could get them scheduled, hopefully their schedules will work with that. If not, I guess if you could get back with us and let us know.
How much time would you guys like to have for interviews given?
I'd say probably an hour for each one, 15, 20 minutes in between. My thought, anyway.
And my apologies for scheduling over the top of what we already had on the schedule.
So you might want to, we advertised that it was going to be based upon how they would bid their time. I think so. I don't remember how the thing was, but that's what we're based on. It looks like you need to clarify Tommy. Because he put out a thing that doesn't really say it. It just said, here's my hours. And he says, I could do something different. But what does that mean? And to be fair, I put them on the same plane.
Yeah, and I might say that it might be most fair to ask the question during the interview because they now
Have to ask them both, though. Yeah,
hear
we
what
could
the
do
other
that.
person
That would be a
said.
good way to do it. Too. But they'd have to have, it's hard to dance real time. They may be hesitant to say, and then we'll regret not having time to actually mull it over, against their own personal life, whatever else.
Yeah, I just think that any question that I ask of one, I'm going to need to ask.
Well,
the
you would
other.
have to go to both of them. Beforehand is what I would recommend.
Would you guys like me to reach out for any changes to their price structure before the interview then?
No, I don't think it would be appropriate. I think that's an interview.
Yeah, it is an interview thing.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Go ahead, sir.
I would prefer face-to-face, but I'd be acceptable if one or both had to zoom in.
Yeah.
That's my
I
feeling.
think that would be good.
Given the time frame, I'd hate to have not to be able to conduct it because one of them couldn't be there.
Yeah.
And I would guess we ought to give both of them that option. For fairness and
Yep, see if they're in court somewhere that day.
I
But
will
I
put that up and see.
think I would concur that that would be an interview question to ask rather than I wouldn't be opposed to saying that the rate structure would probably be questions asked during the interview, but other than that,
Question about the workshop.
no,
You had mentioned possibly a meeting, or will the whole thing be a workshop? And I'm assuming it would be an executive workshop, close to the public since it is dealing with personnel matters. Am I correct?
no, we can't have an executive session during a workshop. It has to be during.
during the
Next
meeting,
meeting.
so
Closed workshop.
Yeah.
interviews will be
Closed workshop,
that,
Like we did before. That's what it was.
just not an executive
Yeah.
session.
That's what
so
I was.
part of, it'll be a closed workshop and we'll meet together first to go over procedures for the interview, followed by the interviews. And we will not be making a decision that day, so we will not come back out into a public meeting.
So there's no meeting, it's just a workshop. Thank you for the clarification.
And I'm assuming Brady will nail down times for the
Yeah,
workshop and,
Block.
yeah,
What that workshop, closed workshop will actually be, which will include the meeting beforehand, the 2 interviews and probably some. That will be it that day.
do you guys feel like an hour for each one is enough?
I think so. Anything else on that? Would you gentlemen like to go just by consensus on interviewing both of these gentlemen, or would we
I would
like to
move we-
do a vote?
I would move we interview both candidates.
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor to interview both candidates for the position of county attorney.
And arrange time by human resources.
At an arranged time by Human
Sorry.
Resources. Any discussion on that, further discussion? Anything from the room? Anything from online? I see no hands. Those in favor of interviewing both individuals for the position of county attorney at a time set up by HR, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries.
25 May, right? That what we just agreed.
April.
Excuse me.
Or April, I mean. So,
I'm sure that will be put on our calendars.
it'll get there.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for that. Next item would be the consideration of setting up a workshop for the first quarter budget review. I got that put on at the request of Braden from HR. We had wanted to do reviews on our budget moving forward, and our first quarter is over. And so looking to,
You have a proposed date?
You have a proposed date, right?
I don't know, I was gonna check in with you guys, so looks like this and next week are out, and so maybe that last week of April or first week of May, in conjunction with the meeting.
Well, last week of April, I'm booked up. Period.
Are you available after our BOCC meeting on the 27th?
No, and I was gonna bring that up at the end of the meeting. I've got a commitment there that I'm gonna zoom in on that meeting.
You will be available on the 25th, though, for the attorney
Yes.
interviews.
Yeah. I'll be here
So from Wednesday on, you're unavailable.
27, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going.
What about the afternoon of the 25th?
Can.
Cannot do 24th, you're in the planning commission. Unless you,
25th.
you said, okay,
25th is in the afternoon.
We'll be there
Should
anyway, so.
And this is a summary of where the departments are, and where their spend rates are, whether they're above or below their projections.
Yeah, a little bit more than just the
Right.
summary that I've been giving each month.
Right.
but same-
Yeah.
Same thing.
In more detail. That'll be good. I can do it.
Budget afternoon of the 25th.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Even if we can't come to agreement on the attorney's interview, we still need the afternoon. What time do you think, boss?
1:30, so
I'm good at 1:30.
Make it so that you need to get the attorneys with their availability.
Right.
Let's pencil in 1:30, and if we end up having to do an interview early afternoon, then we can kick that
Just slide
workshop
it
out.
down.
That's a workshop.
Yes.
Budget workshop.
Open to the public.
Mhm.
open to the public after that. No public comment, correct? Or they can,
That's my assumption, but
so sure to no public comment.
I thought we should make a comment if it's controlled.
Yeah, we can let them comment.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on that, sir? Moving along to the discussion of workshop for VSO job descriptions. That should be description, I guess. Sorry.
Just have it last. Okay. Anything-
So-
Sometimes I just. Make it full.
Okay, and we have with us today Eric, and your name has left me already.
Amongst the bias, but Eric is fine.
All right, and he's from the state VSO office, and
how are you?
Nice to meet you, sir.
thank you for coming down and
Thank you.
and sitting in with us.
Good to meet you. I left you a couple messages here and there. but
Yes, sir. Braden Wilson.
Bill
That's
Cannon,
Bill.
Braden's there.
Braden, okay.
Thank you very much.
I didn't know he was gonna be here. I've also been not a BSO, but I've got a lot of input into that.
Okay, before you get started,
I know.
how do you pronounce, spell your name for us?
MONCIBAIS.
Can you tell me your title again?
I am with the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs, and I'm the Regional Veteran Service Officer for Southeast Colorado.
Corner of the state,
From my region, reach out to Mineral County, which is Creed, up to Salida, and then everything south of Springs, all the way down to Trinidad, Springfield,
you got a lot of,
Lamar, yes,
no
sir.
wonder you look tired.
Yeah. I've been traveling the past 3 days.
Wow.
That's-
Well, thank you for being here today.
No, thank you for having me. A lot of what I was wanting to discuss can probably be saved for the workshop if I'm invited, if you want me to attend.
Yeah.
And you're probably wondering, well, why is there a state guy in my neighborhood? Just a little bit of historical background. There's always been a regional veteran service officer, but they were all stationed in Lakewood. About 2 years ago, the state came up with the brilliant idea spread loading these regional veteran service officers. So there's 5 of me in all corners of the state. And then there's one right there in Denver. He covers the central region.
That's a total of 6.
Total of 6, yes. So the reason we know that's a good idea is now that we have regions, the county VSOs in our region, so I have 15 counties under my jurisdiction. I'm able to better serve those county VSOs to ensure they're providing prompt, efficient services to the veterans in their communities. Jared, no fault of his own. And before I started with the state, when he showed up to an empty office. He didn't know what a VSO was supposed to do. He didn't know how to be a VSO. And he learned on his own until I came around, and then I started providing him with a little bit more training the more I got to know Jared. So what I don't want to do is have that happen again for another VSO that comes in. Another reason why the state is involved, and I also sent the statute to Mr. Wilson, is the Colorado Revised Statute Title 28, and the part y'all want to be familiar with is Part 8, and it describes
Part
what the
which
state.
part?
Say again, sir?
A or 8?
8. And it describes what a VSO is supposed to do and what the commissioners/counties should be looking for when they're going to hire a veteran service officer. So it's important to look at that. And there's things in there on how the counties get paid by the state. The process of hiring a VSO. And one of the main things is when you go to hire a VSO, someone who should be involved with that process. Not saying that they have the influence to say who was hired and who was not hired is your national veteran organizations, DAV, American Legion, VFW, wherever you have here locally should have some say on the veteran service officer candidates' experience, how trustworthy they are in the community, because that's one thing you want to make sure when you're hiring a veteran service officer, if it's local person, is the trustworthiness. You're dealing with HIPAA, you're dealing with personal information and stuff like that. So you want to make sure you got a trustworthy individual. So that's where the state comes in. Not only that, once you do decide to hire one, then the state becomes involved by ensuring the veteran service officer is not only trained, but accredited. You have to be accredited through the Office of General Counsel, which is big VA government. Without being accredited, you can't offer assistance to veterans. It's against the law. So that's where the accreditation comes from. I help with that process, and I also help them to become accredited with the VA and get the training with the VA to be able to access the VA remote desktop, which is what we utilize to manage veterans claims through the VA system. Currently, the way we're paying veteran service officers for the county is it's a part-time, full-time stipend. We're moving away from that come the summertime, and information will be pushed out for that. And what we're leaning to is whether you're part-time or full-time, it doesn't matter. What we're looking at is your accreditation and your eligibility in order to have more access to be able to provide better services to the veterans is what's going to, from the state point of view, determine your salary. So we do have some county VSOs that don't want to get too involved, and that's kind of our enticement to get county VSOs involved by getting more access to more resources to help veterans. And that will in turn increase their stipend that they receive from the state.
Yeah, that's important.
That's an important thing to remember when we move forward. That's pretty much what I was wanting to cover, because there's a lot that we can still talk about as far as like the workshop stuff, what you're looking for, who we should be looking for. I know we mentioned the truck earlier, and just to throw that out there so y'all can talk about it later. I know Jared was utilizing that truck to help elderly veterans with no vehicle, veterans that are low income by delivering anything from propane, food, firewood. So I know the truck was utilized, and he was very stoked that he had that. I remember me and him discussed him getting the truck, because when he first got here, he was doing everything on his own. So the truck is something that just shows, one, support for the county VSO, and it shows support for the veterans in the community. So the truck's a good idea, but I understand that's maybe it could be a shared resource, but it was a great resource for the veterans, because I know the times I visited with Jared, there were veterans coming in needing help, and that's how he was getting it to us, through that truck. So like I said, I had a lot of stuff written down here.
Yes, in part 8, it would describe how you would, whether that's a requirement or a nice thing, or how do you handle that?
Well,
There are
it
certain
is.
requirements that you have
Yeah.
to do, and then there are certain things you can't afford to do.
Exactly.
And there's certain things that you can't afford time to do as a veteran
Yes.
service officer.
Yes, for sure. All that plays into consideration. And it also plays into the county VSO, the individual, their availability, depending on who you hire. If you hire a veteran who may be disabled themselves, then they're going to be limited. Or maybe they're elderly, and what they can give is what they can give. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that play into what the limitations are going to be. One of the things to definitely take into consideration is either computer literacy or the willingness to learn, because we are moving everything digital, everything is computer based. So that would be one thing for sure that we struggle even with now, with us transitioning. And we are, Director Callahan, my boss, David Callahan, he's the director of DMVA. He likes to use the term learning, growing organization, which we are. We're moving away from paper. We're identifying new resources and identifying gaps, and every day we're learning something new and improving what we do for veterans throughout the state. But I wanted to talk about other stuff, but that's probably better for the workshop if you want, so I can open it for questions. I didn't want to take too much time. I just wanted to once again say thank you for inviting me, and I'm willing to assist in the process however much you would like for me to.
And you live where?
I live in Pueblo.
Oh, in Pueblo.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Not in Pueblo. I'm a county guy. I live out in the country, so don't hold Pueblo against me.
Where are you, east or south?
I'm east. I'm east of the drive-in theater. So I'm
So that
out
makes
county
it
farm
sound-
road.
Used to be fun to go there.
It's not like you'd have to drive up here from Springfield if we invited you to be part of the process.
No, sir. And if I did live in Springfield, I would still come out here because I drive out there anyway. So I drive all over.
So I have a question, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Are we formally on agenda item E?
Yes, we
Okay,
are.
so this, we're kind of taking a little break from the meeting to have this workshop internally.
Yes.
Internal to the meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So the workshop is part of the meeting. We're not going to adjourn and have a workshop. We're going to do it right.
Oh,
now.
right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
wasn't sure you
All right.
knew that, so. In looking at the job description, I want your opinion or advice on the requirement that VSO officer must reside in Custer County. Is that normal in the other counties you serve?
No, there are other veteran service officers that live outside of the county they work for. As a matter of fact, we have one in Salida. She is, her county slips on mine right now. But Salida, she works in Salida as the VSO's Chaffee County. So she's a Chaffee County VSO, but she resides in Canyon City, which is Fremont County. So as long as there's not an issue, which she hasn't had an issue with her commissioners being in the office. So that would be something, if you hire someone from Pueblo or somewhere close by, as long as you know they're going to be here, their appointed place and time, that would be a commissioner decision.
And gentlemen, do you have a feeling about that?
I just told Kevin I'd like to follow up with that. I think, we've been through 4 VSOs in my time with only 4 years on the commissions. For various reasons, and a couple of them have been through, they get burned out because they internalize every veteran's problem. You know,
Mhm.
They get PTSD over
Mhm.
PD. Anyway, I think I think the reason that requirement's in there is, I need some help here. Are we really the largest per capita veterans per capita in the state or in the United States? Basically, that's what we keep saying. I know we have a very large veterans population.
Here in Colorado?
No,
or here
in Custer County,
No, the highest veteran population is Springs, is
per
El
capita,
Paso.
per capita.
Per capita. No, then yes, you are correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of veterans here, and I think we wanted to make sure, or at least I do, that veteran is here, because in the middle of the night, you get issues.
Yes,
with our
yes.
veterans. So
Yes.
it's important to me that is a good requirement to have, and I would hope we could probably be flexible if the right guy from Colorado Springs wants to do it. I don't know how we would handle it, but we would probably need your advice.
You have a copy of this, perhaps?
Is that the description?
That's our, existing job description.
Oh, okay.
Is that the job we advertise?
I'm not for sure where you got the verbiage for your job description. The one I sent is the one I send. Because we do have a lot of veteran service officers that are retiring. So the one I sent is probably a little more
Is
detailed
that
than
one, the
this.
chart and all that?
No, there was a different one that I sent. Mr. Wilson.
Is that what you printed?
Yeah, on the back, it has 25% of time, 50%.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's the one that's in. Okay.
That's where I come in, sir, with helping veteran service officers not get to the point of burnout. And that's why I was saying when Jerry started, and Jerry's not the only one. There's a lot of veteran service officers, when they started, they showed up to an empty office. They had no turnover. They didn't learn the trade, so to speak. And so what we do is we take it from a self-care point of view. Yes, you're a veteran service officer, you're helping veterans, but at the same time, you need to protect your own, just like social workers or counselors or doctors or anyone else, they all practice self-care. So what we teach county VSOs is identify resources that are going to help you. Like you said, in the middle of the night, something comes up in the middle of the night, VSO is probably not the one that needs to get involved. It's probably 911 or go to the hospital, maybe the VA crisis line and get something involved like that. So what we do is working through the state, the regional veteran service officer, we mentor county VSOs to set boundaries, learn their limitations, identify them. That way they don't get burned out. And I wish I would have been able to call Jared and many other county VSOs before it got to that point, because you're absolutely right. After about a year or two of this, you do get burned out when it's veteran after veteran after veteran.
I might ask a question on that as well, because we referenced the pickup and
Yes.
some of the things that he utilized that for, delivering food, propane, gas, firewood. Technically, those are not part of his job description. Is that correct?
It could be. That's the
Okay.
commissioners. This is what I sent was pretty much what the statute is calling for. And when you read the statute, it is a vague statute, but what we're wanting to ensure is, and every county is different. There's some county commissioners that are all on board, whatever the VSO wants, the VSO gets. And it also depends on, the finances of the county as well. But I do have a lot of county VSO, a lot of commissioners that support their county VSO, and whatever they want, they get, because they're taking care of veterans. Another thing I would like to point attention to, and I'm not for sure if y'all have seen it, is what the VA publishes. It's called the Government Data Exchange, the GDX report. And it shows the money veterans living in your county bring in. It shows it the dollar amount. And if you haven't seen that, I can push it out to Mr. Wilson. He can share it with you. And it does show the money that's coming in through the veterans It's being spent here in Custer County. And that's where we try to get commissioners to support the VSO, because the more they're involved,
Go ahead. No, I don't want to stop.
okay, the more they're involved with helping veterans, identifying gaps in resources, and veterans see that there's someone there advocating for them, brings more veterans to the table. We get more veterans taken care of by the VA. We get more compensation claims awarded to veterans, which in turn, the dollar stops here in Custer County. So that's why we want to get someone involved. We want to show veterans that the counties are being supported by the county, is what I'm trying to get to.
So I'm asking for another quick catch up on that.
Yes,
So when you say money in, is that all veterans like the VFW, the American Legion, all the opportunities for money to come into Custer County through our veterans,
yes, sir.
including the district?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then, our job description doesn't have anything about pickup and delivering firewood. So how do you get them to recognize a problem and limit that before the guy burned out? I mean, delivering firewood every day and people, all of a sudden, you know how I'm going to help you for a while and then it becomes a right. All of a sudden, where's my firewood? You didn't deliver it this month. And then the officer feels, well, I've got to get out there and do it because he's dependent on me. So somehow you've got to counsel everybody, and us, the commissioners, have to be aware of that so that we can
Yes.
stop it.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
No, wait a minute, let me, first let him answer. Is there that question is, can you said you counsel?
We counsel, yes, sir. And we teach the veteran service officer to set those boundaries. And what we also teach veteran service officers, if you're helping a veteran that's in some kind of financial crisis, I need firewood.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, I can help you this time, but what are we gonna do for next time you need firewood? What's your finances look like? Do you need help with that? Do you have medical bills that probably you don't need to be paying for because I can help you through the VA?
There you go.
So that's what we do, is we identify why that veteran is in crisis and how do we prevent reoccurrent crisis.
Okay, that makes sense.
And if we have a help resistant veteran, then we annotate it as a help resistant veteran, and we just have to lay down the boundary, that I've helped you, I've tried to offer you help to minimize your crisis. I just can't continue to take care of it. And it's sad. I mean, that happens. There are some veterans that just are help resistant and mental health reasons or whatnot. And then that's when we try to find other resources, that we try to get, a social worker involved or something like that. And we alleviate that veteran from having to always, I don't want to use the word burden, but rely on the VSO to always take care of them. But yes, sir, we do try to minimize that. It's not something we just take care of every veteran and now it becomes problematic for the county. It's
Yeah.
just not feasible to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'll go ahead and let you speak for a second. Go ahead and ID yourself again, please.
I certainly am. I'm gonna sit down. Anyway, my name is Wes Taylor. I'm a veteran myself. I did almost 21 years, Air Force mostly, and most of that mental health. So I've got a lot in my head going on. In fact, my notes are huge, and I spoke to this gentleman over here and he took half of it away from me, so that's fine. But firewood was one of the things that not Sheriff McLean, but the previous John Carroll was doing. He actually bought, from what I understand, he bought a truck, which he was on his own when he felt the need. Or veterans, and I've heard last night, there was one particular one that said, where's my firewood? I got 4 cords last year, I want 4 cords this year. I don't know how that word gets around to you or anybody else. He's entitled. He feels he needs it. He owes it. And that's not a good thing. But this guy, he did go out and plow. In fact, my neighbor bought the truck. So he did go out and plow and do firewood and all kinds. So he was just, that's what I would be doing. In fact, I have been doing some of that. I just try to help people. That's why I'm here. One thing I want to let you know that I found out just this morning, I've been, after I spoke with you, I understand he's going to be busy. I also put my name on the board up there with my phone number to call me immediately if they need to. I am a mental health guy, and I don't care if it's 3 in the morning or New Year's, Christmas Eve, I don't care. I want to do that, and I've got people that lined up and supposedly can help. One of the people, his name is Joe Studebaker. He's in VSO with the American Legion. He is now probably in the hospital. I got a hold of him. I've been trying for 3 days. And I just got a text from this morning, he got severe spinal issues, and he said, I need to just take care of myself. So I was hoping that would be able to help, and it doesn't work very good right now. So it's and I don't know what else I really have to say, but I did leave my, I left my card with all these various VSOs and my name and number and everything, never got a call. So they take on a lot of firewood issues and things themselves and take care of it. And it's a tough, I don't have to tell you, it's a tough job.
And we're referencing firewood a lot here. I brought it up, so my apologies for that, but that's only one thing. There's a lot of things, and in my visits with Jared, you know, he inherited a lot of that when he came on board. Even though the office was empty, the expectations were there. That being said, he also had a heart for the veterans that he was serving. And one of his comments to me was he was taking care of immediate needs to the point to where some of his actual duties, getting the paperwork filed and taking care of the claims and things of that nature, were actually being pushed back a little bit because of the time that he spent taking care of the immediate needs. And so I think whether or not, the question there would be whether or not he utilized the state resources enough to be able to draw those boundaries, or that's something I think we need to look at moving forward, because like Bill said, I mean, it's almost like a revolving door there, but it's a tough position and it takes a lot out of a guy.
Yes, sir. And I agree with you. I wish Jared would have reached out more. Jared was the guy that if I didn't hear from him, I had to come find him. Not that he wasn't in his office, it's just, hey, what's up? Let me help you. So, I mean, Jared did take on a lot he didn't have to, and I'd like to prevent that from the next VSO that comes through. I would like the next VSO to be, because it's like I was mentioning to Mr. Wilson and even Mr. Taylor, I'm not just, as the state, I'm just not gonna come in and dictate. I like to be invited. Same thing with the county VSO. I don't want to come in and tell you how to do your job. I just want to help you. I want to support you. And so I'm hoping whoever's hired on next utilizes me as a resource so they don't get burnt out. I also want to be able to help them when it comes. I did talk to Jared about this before he left. We're talking about money and firewood and this, that, and the other. The state has grants. So I always ask Jared, why has he not applied for any of the state grants? Because we do two different types of grants at the state level that would be able to help offset. And it would even buy another truck, to tell you the truth. If you want to use the truck for whatever, I mean, the grant would help buy another truck. We have a couple of counties that have bought a truck through the state grants, and they've used it just for that, to help vets plow roads so they can get medical appointments or get the food, to the grocery store or whatnot, and they can't do their own driveway for whatever reason. So some of the trucks even have a little snow plow on the front because the county doesn't have a snow plow or whatnot. So there's many different opportunities that I can help this veteran service officer, and that's to include boundaries, setting expectations, and helping when the help is dictated to be correct.
Is there I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Is there something in the system as far as, say, a quarterly or a 6-month check or checkup by the state on VSO officers, other than just calling and saying, hi, how are you doing?
I personally call every county veteran service officer in my region once a month. If they email me and we have more of a communication, that's fine. I actually visit every VSO every other month. So I do a lot more traveling than some of my counterparts do. Unfortunately, in this job, to answer your question, no, there's nothing in writing. So as a regional veteran service officer, I took it upon myself in my region to ensure I'm in a veteran service officer every month. I'm always moving around, helping identify gaps, helping identify resources. That's something else your county VSOs should be willing to do is, what do we lack in taking care of veterans in Custer County? You know, where is that closest available resource we can utilize? And then networking with neighboring counties of can my veterans come over and utilize your resource? Because every county's different. Every county's got a little bit extra money or don't or whatnot. Some counties have a Volunteers of America, some doesn't. So we just work on the whole networking. That's why I try to help county VSOs not take on as much burden as Jared was doing and kind of identify what's available to you and utilize it. And that's going to help prevent that burnout.
Sorry, I got a quick one. I want to follow up. Tom brought this up.
Okay.
To follow up exactly that. So when we get a turnover, it's going to happen. And it may happen quick, like in this case, or it may happen where there's enough warning that there's some overlap in that. So given that you can't do everything and neither can the VSO officer in the place, how do we indoctrinate them? How can we, you must have, there's requirements. They have to be certified. They got to do X, Y, and Z. There ought to be a requirement from us that says you can't start this job until you are familiar enough with the requirements and what this office is doing now. So it would be incumbent upon that VSO that come up with what they're doing, of course. But it would be neat if you must have a template of some kind that says, here's what's expected of a new VSO officer, and here's the things you got to go look at. We don't need to have him jump in there and immediately get blasted by veterans coming in. Well, I don't have my firewood yet. And that, so which tells me that it would be nice to have, like you said, volunteer. We got guys that are volunteering all over the place, but they need to be structured. They just can't show up and say, I'll do anything you want. Well, what do you want me to do? And you don't have anything to tell them. So if we could get samples of other counties and how they bring in a new person and how they go to the state for training for X days, and we pay their per diem to go up there and learn a few things from, or over to you on a trip to Sterling or wherever.
Yes.
So that seems to me something that we would benefit from, even on the grants. I don't know. I've never thought about it because we're a county that half of our money that we get has to come from grants. We can't do everything. There's not enough tax base to pay for everything that we want to do.
Mhm.
So those grants are key. We've got to, we're rounding up our grants now, and we want to make sure that we include the VSO and get him trained up on either how to do it or will assist for working the grant process. The grants are key. If there's wages that we can get out of that on top to make it more lucrative enough for him to be able to use some money to do the things that he wants.
Yes, sir. No, you bring up a good point. And we just created at the state level, we call it a 30, 60, 90-day training plan, and I can share it with you.
Good.
So what it is it identifies what we need to teach a veteran at the 30, 60, 90-day mark to make them valuable in position, or not valuable, but
Productive.
well trained in the position they're going to be in. That way they're not just hitting the ground what I do next. And it's not like I just send a 30, 60, 90-day plan to them. I actually come and spend a few days with the veteran service officer. I go over everything because I got to set up their computers. I got to show them all the resources, all the websites. So I come in and I basically sit with the VSO until I feel and the VSO feels like they have an understanding of where at least to set a good foundation. And then what I do is I provide them taskers. I need you to complete this. I need you to complete that. And then I follow up. I make sure they're moving along and they don't have any issues. And more importantly, they're understanding what it is I'm having them complete and why. That kind of sets up a nice relationship where they trust me and I trust them. They feel supported and they do start on a nice breath of fresh air, so to speak, when they start. So that's what we do with that training template. It was something that wasn't utilized in the past. Like I said, when Jared started, it was an empty office. We recognized that at the state level. And actually the audit that the state just went through an audit in the fall. And there was a lot identified in the audit that the state was not doing. Well, we're doing it now. So, and a lot of it was the training plan you mentioned. So now we have a training plan and we use it for not only all VSOs that are new onboarding with their counties, but even the older ones that have been around a while, because we don't know what they learned, what they didn't learn. And so we're catching them up to speed. We want a veteran service officer or a veteran in a rural community to get the same experience level as someone out of Denver. That's what we're shooting for. No reason why a rural veteran should have to suffer because the rural VSO isn't as experienced as a Denver VSO. And then as far as the grants go, there is a site, I can share it with Ms. Jennifer, where anyone that's gonna apply for a grant can attend the training. There's a training that's involved on how to write a grant, which grants go for what resources, because there's a VAG grant and a VAG grant. The other one slips my mind, a VAT grant, and they're utilized for two different resources, but they're out there and the training's there. Miss Lisa Stem, she's our grant administrator up at the state, and she's very helpful in answering questions and helping writing grants and getting them submitted in. So those grants would help be able to offset a lot of what the county was picking up, or maybe even make it better. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eric, really appreciate you being here today. It's going to help us out tremendously, and I hope as a board that we continue to invite you to be part of this whole process. We move
Looking
forward.
forward to it, yes.
My number one objective here is to put the brakes on this revolving door, if at all possible, and I'm prepared to be part of some hard decisions that maybe can help that happen. Had numerous conversations with Jared. I've tried to filter out some of that from Jared the person, Jared the VSO, and all that. So I want to bring up a topic. You don't have to address it right now, but so that I don't forget to mention it. And then I've got some concerns that I want to share with these two gentlemen and yourself. So we're in the process and have developed a relationship with Mount Carmel. I've talked with Bob a couple times, 2 or 3 times actually, about financial support, services support, that kind of stuff. He's very interested in Custer County. They have Custer County Connects portion of their veteran services. So really want to make sure we don't drop the ball on that resource as well. There are entities in Custer County who have pledged and or given money to Mount Carmel to funnel back into Custer County specifically. And so I think that's important that we don't lose sight of that as we move forward. To get down to it, for me, I think we need to make a firm decision whether this candidate needs to be a resident or not. I don't think we can ride the fence and say, well, maybe, maybe not. I think we have to make a decision about that. I think we have to make a decision about whether or not this is going to be a full-time position or a part-time position. I have a follow-up question about that. And based on my experience, I certainly have an opinion about whether or not our VSO should be providing quote unquote the social services part. And I base that opinion on the conversations with Jared, conversations with the BFW, conversations with the American Legion. And then I think we need to pay attention about the experience requirement. If whatever we say in this job description, that's exactly what I expect to happen. If we say you have to have a bachelor's degree, then we're not hiring anybody that doesn't have one, if that's the route we go. So I just think it's important that we need to pay attention to that also. And then I think we need to take a hard look at the pay scale for this BSO, whether it's part-time or full-time. We don't contribute significantly to that. I know the state covers, I think it's 80% of the salary of BSOs. And so I know that Jared struggled with his salary in relationship to what he was doing and how much time and the toll it took on him. Money's not going to be the answer to everything. I understand that, but I think that's something we need to look at. So have you had dealings with Mount Carmel?
Matter of fact, my office is at Mount Carmel in Pueblo.
Okay, so
And I know Bob personally,
You know
and I know
exactly
Sal, who was in Pueblo, and,
met with him.
mine and Sal's take on helping veterans is we never say no. If I can't find a resource and Mount Carmel doesn't have a resource, we will find a resource to help a veteran. And I know y'all are backing away the table from the social aspect of helping veterans. And that's the commissioner's prerogative, but I encourage it because we do need to identify these social resources to help veterans because the VA is not the answer on providing
Right.
resources. Mount Carmel is not going to be able to provide the resources for every veteran that comes through. But so yes, Mount Carmel fully on board with that. We wouldn't cut that tie. And a matter of fact, we would grow it. You probably heard Bob talk about his rural 22 counties. So I'm all on board with that. And me and Bob and Sal, we talk on a regular basis. So I'm fully on board with that. I fully believe, and it's probably Jared's personality, if he would have reached out more, I could have helped more. But like I said, I'm not going to impart where I'm not invited. That's why I think if I'm able to come in and help this VSO identify other resources, learn how to set those boundaries, not to be so, I mean, and we're all in some way excited about the things we do. We're very passionate about the things we do, but we all need to have our boundaries, even as commissioners. I'm sure there's a lot when y'all got, took it on, you wanted to conquer Custer County or whatnot, but we all have boundaries. And that's what I want to help this new county VSO do, and I have done. And I'll give you a couple examples. Over half, I got 15 counties, over half of them when I started a year and a half ago were part-time county VSOs. And they started new. First thing they asked me once I started training them up and once they started getting comfortable in what they were doing, is how can I get more information to veterans? And I ask them, are you sure you want to do that? Because once you start enticing people to the door, you're going to be working a lot more. But that was their passion. They wanted to help vets. All of them now are full-time county VSOs because they want to be, first of all. And not only did they want to do that on themselves, they wanted to help veterans, but it even shows on the amount of veterans they help through the GDX report. It shows because veterans are more involved with the community, like the healthcare fair you were talking about Saturday. Once you start putting things on like that and the veterans feel more supported and included by the community, then they participate a lot more. My Salida County VSO, I can't keep her out of the paper. She's always in the paper doing something with the veterans, and the veterans love her. Same thing down in Trinidad with Ray Odom down there. The community and the commissioners rally against him, and every veteran event that takes place is just chopped to the wall to wall with veterans in the community. So once you get a county VSO that's in and can set those boundaries, provide those resources, and get the community involved, it just amplifies everything we do for veterans. So don't back all the way off the table. I encourage from the social aspect of it, because it is something that is needed. There are veterans that do need that extra help.
Yeah, one of the things I neglected to say, I've had this conversation with the commander and the VSO, VFW. I think we need to develop and develop a relationship with them that they take on the majority of that social services thing.
And they can by all means submit for a grant and have the resources to do that. They're 503(c) or 503. Yeah, they can definitely put in for the same grant that I'm talking about, and they can have the resources to do that. And so what that would look like is the county VSO identifying that veteran that needs that help, warm handoff to the VFW, and let them take care of that social aspect of it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to follow up with that too. I did have a long conversation with Bob. He likes you too, Mike. Maybe it's because you're sharing the office. But that's exactly what should happen. I had that discussion with the VFW and the American Legion too. Rather than competing with each other for different grants and their ability to execute them, varies with people that with the energy, it would be better for them to repool together and go for the bigger grant to do it.
I agree.
So along that line, pay scale, you have samples of, you want to make it worthwhile, but you can't, you only afford what you can afford. So are there, I see an opportunity to increase that with grants and working with Mount Carmel too. You have samples of counties like in our situation, what is the pay scale? Right now, we were running what is it, $17 an hour or something we said. It wasn't enough. And so how can we compete? Because we want to we want good people to volunteer to do this and we want to keep.
Every county is different, and I don't have any samples because every county is different.
Yeah.
Right now, if you went just off the stipend that the state provides, the full-time stipend, it only comes out to barely $9 an hour.
Yeah.
If you just use just the stipend.
Right.
So a lot of the counties that have the means pitch in a little bit more to make it enticing for VSO to stay. There's some counties that can't afford that, and that's all they get is their
Are any of them using
18,000.
grants to augment it?
Not the state grants. We can't use any of the state grants monies to augment any of the income. Neither one of the grants will, and I doubt Mount Carmel is going to be able to help offset any of that either. So that is an issue. My director, David Callahan, he is working. Of course, that's a legislative thing, trying to get that statute increased. But of course, we got to go through the legislative aspect of that, of trying to get the state statute revised so the state gets more money to be able to afford to give counties more money.
Yeah.
That's why we're pushing for even the part-time VSOs. The reason we're going away from the part-time full-time is we even want the part-time VSOs to become fully accredited. That way we can give them the full-time stipend, but we know even at the part-time, it's even less of a paycheck. But if we can get them fully accredited all the way, then we can give them the full-time, and it doesn't matter what hours they're pulling in. Right now, it's an hourly thing. You work less than 30 hours, it's part-time. Work more than 30, it's full-time. And so that's why we went to getting the fully accredited idea through the county VSOs, so we can pay them more. That's why we're doing away with the whole hourly thing.
It's like a salary.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think I'd like to kind of speak to some of this that both these gentlemen spoke to, and you as well, and that's the setting the boundaries. I think I liked your comment on, that's going to fall out of my head and I won't catch it. But identifying the problems that put those veterans in that place to begin with, and trying to help them pull themselves out of that hole. I think if whoever we get in this position is able to do that and to be able to help them move forward to where they're not looking for that 5 gallons of gas every month or the quart of firewood every month through the winter or whatever, to where they can identify the problems that put them there in the first place. I like that aspect of what you were talking about, and that would be part of that setting the boundaries, I think, and to where I'm not just going out and doing this for you month after month after
Yes,
month.
sir. Yes, sir. And that's where Mount Carmel plays in. Mount Carmel has financial advisors, so that would be something a VSO could take off his plate. He identified this veterans in crisis, he needs firewood or food or whatever. Why, not a long why, or let me help you, or bring me your checkbook, let me figure it out. That's when he would do that warm handoff to Mount Carmel. They have certified financial advisors there, and they can help set up the budget and help that veteran figure out why it is month to month, he's in the black and always having to ask for help. I don't know if there's community financial planners in Custer County, but you got Mount Carmel as a resource. You have Wounded Warriors as a resource, Semper Fi Fund. There's plenty of organizations out there that would be able to help a veteran. But that's the thing, the veteran has to be willing to advocate and hold themselves responsible. And that's an ongoing problem, and that's something we teach county VSOs is you have to talk to veterans of holding themselves accountable. You have to.
Go ahead, sir.
I understand what you're saying about this social services aspect. I don't want to appear to disregard the need for that. I understand the need for that. I think as a Board of County Commissioners, we have to have a firm decision on how we're going to move forward, because the next VSO is going to carry the same baggage that the last one had unless we stop the bleeding somewhere as a group, not just my opinion, but I think the VFW and the American Legion, I think that's right in their wheelhouse to do that stuff. I don't see any of that in these job descriptions. I'm glad I don't see it there. I think our VSO should sit in that office and handle claims. I think that's what we pay him for. We have a food bank up here, food care and share. They can deal with the food. I think the other two organizations can deal with the water needs, the fencing need. I mean, it just goes on and on. I was with Jared twice, once when he hauled water to a veteran, and we were in the process of doing a whole fencing thing when he pulled the plug. So it is my opinion that we need to start over and we need to set some boundaries, and we need to do that and not have the VSO officer have to do that, because he's going to get bombarded. He or she will get bombarded the first month that that office is open again. And those people will continue to have those expectations unless we as a Board of County Commissioners decide differently. And if we do, then I think it's incumbent upon us to make it very public that the VSO office is changing course. I know that's in a little opposition to what you're saying, and I wouldn't feel that way if we didn't have a VFW and an American Legion that's as active as we do.
Okay, I know I talked to Jared, and that would be something the community, that commissioners could help with, because Jared did talk to me about the strained relationships. I love the idea. All the organizations, veteran organizations and communities should work together. And if there's strained relationships there for historical reasons or ego reasons, maybe the commissioners can help. I know Jared did talk to me about that. He wished he could use the local organizations, but egos, historical issues or whatnot, if there could be some kind of help to put that to the side, that way it is a mutual understanding and they're all taking care of veterans for the same reason. And every county is different. We keep talking about wood and fences and water in here, but every other county, Alamosa, for instance, they use their grant monies for a transportation system to take vets to the VA, to Springs and to Denver. Same thing with Lamar. They have a transportation program where they take vets. Salida does also. So it just depends on what you identify as a gap to helping veterans. And some vets do need help. They can't drive, they're blind, they don't have a car, they don't have the money, whatever it is. Just would ask that we wouldn't fully pump the brakes on a VSO being able to establish some kind of social assistance, because there is going to be times where the VFW or the American Legion isn't going to be able to provide that help, and it's got to come. It has to fall on someone. And I think it is paramount that if the VSO, if the commissioner's stances are to be limited on the social resources the VSO is going to be able to, that is fine. I think it definitely needs to be defined. You're right. It does need to, the buck stops here. No more handouts. I don't want to call them handouts, but sometimes veterans get used to, they take advantage of the system, path least resistance, just like nature does. And I think if it's more of a defined role and I can get in and help that county VSO establish those boundaries, I don't think we would have that problem moving forward.
Yeah, we gotta fix this, obviously.
For sure. Yes, sir.
The last, well, counting Jared, the last 3 VSO officers said, I can't handle this. I cannot continue to do this. I'm living those veterans' lives and it's killing me and my wife. And we're responsible for that, because we need to put some boundaries and constraints around that position, whatever that looks like. No problem trying to identify the needs of our veterans and try to address those.
I wish Jared would have reached out a little more, because I could have, you know, I help all the other VSOs in my region with the same topics we're talking now. And it was a problem, and then we nipped it before it got out of hand. This is what you should be doing. This is, you know, don't entertain too much of this veteran or that. And now those VSOs enjoy what they're doing more, because they were giving me phone calls. I'm getting burned out. I'm getting stressed. And so I had to jump in and show them how to set boundaries, where to find other resources.
And that's something we can do. We can
Yeah.
require that they build a relationship and with you especially, and then with our own, and with our own American Legion, VFW, and other volunteer groups within the county.
Yeah.
Because it's not on his shoulders alone. I look at that VSO as the leader that ought to be above it and strategically put together teams, or how would you support the guy? Yeah, he needs firewood, but I'm not going to deliver it by myself.
Yes, for sure.
And then how do I do the things that you suggest to get with you so you can help counseling? I mean, I don't care if you're sitting in that office, if that's all you did, you're still gonna live that a veteran's life, because they're gonna come in here and say, I need to do X, help me
Yes.
do something, and eventually you get sucked into it.
Well, we do training at the state level. We do a spring training and we do a fall training. They can attend virtually. I always encourage my county VSOs to attend in person, because we do talk about these resources. We do talk about burnout, self-care. Not only that, you get to talk to other veterans and network. How do you take care of this? How do you take out, you know, different situations, and we learn from each other. So we just had one in the spring. Jared attended online virtually. As a matter of fact, right in the middle of it, when he told me he resigned. So he didn't even, the first day, after the first day, he dropped me that note. And now that I've mentioned that, I know Mr. Taylor said he put his number on the door. Rest assured, your veterans are being taken care of, because they call me every day. So Jared asked me when he told me he was resigning, I told him by all means, put my number on the door, and they've been calling me just about every day.
You see, exactly what you're saying is, you know, I'm as guilty as anybody. When we got this job, I said, all right, you need to go get qualified. To me, that was just go talk to state, get your certification, come back and do your thing. It's more than that.
Yes, sir.
And that's what was lacking. And then to be able to use you as a resource and understand the other things that are available for that guy to help.
No, and I agree. And there are a lot of county VSOs that have been around for a while, and you know, they're resistant to change. The change the state's wanting to do is to help veterans, period. The bottom line. But it's a breath of fresh air to see, you know, commissioners willing to entertain, you know, my presence. They're invested in what the county VSO is going to be doing to help the veterans in Custer County. So I think moving forward, you know, with me helping when y'all want me to and providing insight, I think we can definitely set a better foundation for this county VSO when they start.
One more quick question for Eric. I know this would be a hard question to answer, but based on your experience working with other counties, particularly small rural counties, how long do you think we can go without hiring a VSO and still keep our head above water?
Because I'm here. At one point in time, I was actually in 4 different counties at one time for various reasons. One had a death in the family, one went under surgeries himself, one died, and the other one retired. So I had to cover those 4 counties. I reached out to the commissioners, just like I did with you all when Jared, actually I reached out to Ms. Jennifer when I found out Jared resigned. And I was able to take care of all those veterans in those 4 counties. So you're fine. Like I said, they're calling me already. My
You know
number's
our
on the door.
commanders very well,
Yeah, say again, sir?
VFW commander and the American Legion. commander.
In Pueblo, I do. In
You don't know
Pueblo,
them up here yet,
no, sir, I don't.
because that's to answer part of Tom's question. My view is there's a lot of resources, just like Mr. Taylor was saying here, that they have already, and so there's no doubt that we could get some help, especially if you're going to be there to help and guide them a little bit.
Yes.
Well, we select the right guy and getting trained. It's more important. We can select them.
Get
We're
them
gonna
trained.
drop them there and
Yes.
they see ya.
And I don't know what the organizations here, I don't know if they have an accredited VSO in town.
They do.
Or is it accredited or is it someone they're
No,
referring?
He's
up north?
accredited. He's a
Okay.
VSO accredited, at least in the
Okay.
American Legion. I know he's wanting to back out of that. Because.
Which that's the thing, and I'll throw it out there, not all VSOs are built the same.
Yeah.
And yeah, you might have a VSO here in town, but how
But he's not
efficient,
qualified.
how efficient is he in actually helping a vet file a claim? And I'm not saying they're not efficient, I'm just saying they're not all built the same. And I would hate to say that, yeah, Custer County can completely rely on the VFW and American Legion in town. All I know is the ones that are calling me, I'm taking care of them over the phone. I've even drove up here and met somebody up in West Cliff at the, I forget the little bar we went to, but it was a little bar. So I was in
They're all
West
good
Cliff, just, I was just in West Cliff last week and helped the veteran submit a claim last week. So that they are, the help's there. And if you got somebody here that can at least submit a claim at the VFW American Legion, that's fine. It's just, sometimes I wonder how efficient, because what I don't want to happen is a veteran get a claim pushed through that didn't have enough oomph behind it and they think that's it. And then they
That's
never-
why I asked you the
and then
question.
they never
You need
come back to the
You need
table.
to know them, you need to know if they're qualified,
Yes,
and,
yes.
because we don't want them filing a claim that's not right and the guy loses.
Well, the only reason I didn't approach him
This
is
is
because
just
I asked
part-time.
Jared about it, and when Jared said there was a strained relationship there, I figured if he had a strained relationship, I wasn't gonna add to it. I didn't want to cause trouble in his backyard, so to speak. So I never engaged with the VFW of the American.
So are you willing to do it now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm
That's,
willing
that's the
to.
point I'm trying to get.
Yes,
to,
sir.
is
I'm
you can
willing.
do
We can
that.
check it out. see
I
what
know
they're-
they'll open their arms to you.
Okay.
I think as a follow-up to your statement, I think you're wanting to be able to hammer some of this stuff out before we post this. Is that not?
I thought that's what our agenda
Yeah,
said.
and,
That's
but I
why
mean,
I'm
if we
trying to get
didn't get that all done today.
Yeah, it's not
Because
the
you were
end of the
asking
world, but-
what our timeline would be.
Yeah.
Because we do have differences between the job description that you presented to us and ours. And so if we're gonna go through and do that, I think we probably need to go ahead and put these side by side and work on that, or what's the pleasure here on that?
Yeah, can I follow up with my
Yeah.
question real quick, and then I think Braden has a comment. The reason I asked is, obviously, we want to feel comfortable as a board that we can reach out to you. You've made that very clear. I think we all appreciate that. The thing I don't want to do is panic and hire somebody that's going to be here for 8 months.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to drag this thing out and increase your load and neglect the needs of our veterans. I'd like to find a happy balance in there. But I just am concerned that if we say, oh, we got to get this done next week, I think we need to take our time. It all starts with this job description.
Yes,
We
sir.
have to have that right, because that's going to set the tone of where we go forward with our VSO, in my opinion. So if we went 6, 8, 10 weeks without a VSO, are we in trouble?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I think Braden had it.
Sure.
So I think at this point, my suggestion would be that we maybe finish up anything any pain points or things that we've seen from previously, kind of get that listed out. I would suggest that we go with Eric's job description and build from that, not try to change ours. Based on the wording that he has here and looking at the state statute, I think it's going to be more work trying to amend ours to be okay in any way than it is to really take a look at what's already the base functions and putting Custer County spin on that.
I agree.
And when you say his, are you talking about the one that says hard left indent description and then job summary right underneath of it?
Yep.
That was from Eric. Huge difference between these two. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I just looked at the overall verbiage and thought, yeah, that's definitely a state document. This is more a local thing that we
And
develop.
And to help with the process, and it's actually in the statute, to help in the process, is we do utilize the VFW, American Legion commanders. We present them, who the the list of whoever it is, what's the word I'm looking for? The candidates, provide them with the list of candidates and let the VSO look at their experience levels, the VSOs being the American Legion and the VAB or VFW, it's in the statute where commissioners should rely on that community veteran organization to provide insight. Not that they have a say so. They just say, hey, this is what I think about this person's experience, that person's experience. That way they kind of help y'all fill in the blanks of where your knowledge of what a VSO should be doing might fall a little short. That's what they're there for. And by all means, you could also invite me in on the process or just go straight with the community veteran organizations.
I think I, for one, would welcome your presence.
Yeah.
And then I think you had something.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that sort of. This is a high level, covers everything job description for all size counties. For example, exercises direct first level supervision of positions, employees, operations, activities with a main blah, 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 right? That's not Custer County.
No.
And so I would like to see, since we got some time to do it right, for you to get understand our two big major veterans organizations. They're huge compared to the population. You know, the American Legion's got like 180 people. The VFW has got 60 or whatever it is, and they touch other people that aren't members and other people that are members and aren't coming. So it would seem to me it would be worth it to take your job description to them and see if it's going to cover some of the things that they're feeling that ought to be in there. Let them tailor it to the county specific because they're living it and they know what it is.
Is that Eric's job or would that be our job?
No, our job is to take, I think it's his job because he needs to build up, like he says, the relationship with the local people and get their input. We're going to ask them to come in and sit through the interview with us. We've done that every time. Every one of them have had, commanders have been there and they give us they listen and they even had input on what questions we wanted to ask during the interview. So to take this right now, there's a lot of stuff in here that is going to take time for us to say, communicates actively, clearly with supervisor and coworkers at all related topics. You know, maybe there's a better way of what the veterans are expecting. And then there's some things that are leadership wise that are in here that we can control, and we need to know where we're going to put in the constraints on. You know, don't go too far off on the social stuff, but you're going to interact with you. I don't know. I'm suggesting that as an opportunity because I don't want to sit here and in 30 minutes think that we're going to cover and we're going to invent the right job description.
No, sir. And I can tailor that down. That is just an overall, any county could use that job description and tailor that down to what it is. And that's why I also provided the statute, because in the statute, there's some must do's.
Yeah, and you got those in here.
Yes, sir.
See, and that way, then our veteran population would have a better feel for, they had input into what the job that VSO is going to be, you know, that are required, and then things that they wanted to tailor, how you would interact at some level with a mentally disturbed person. I don't know what you put in here. A degree, mental health, it says coordinates admissions with the mental health professionals. You know,
And that's where I come out with the training the county VSO to what do you do if you have a veteran in crisis?
Right.
Have you gone and talked to the sheriff?
Right.
What training do they have?
And so then the vet VSO up here and the commanders understand, well, it is in his job description.
Yeah.
And he's got some training because we've heard and we understand it now. And we like that to be left in our job description for the Custer County.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you have the ability and time to do that, it sounds like you've done it for others.
Yes, I have. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, might I suggest we look at the 27th as a date to have the job description finalized and give everybody time to massage it, work on it, get some input.
Yeah, that's.
Again, I'm not sure it's Eric's job to make that happen. I think certainly we need to take advantage of his input.
Yeah.
If we could
That'd be great.
I
get
think
the
there's-
commanders together and talk about it.
Yep.
Because we got to repair some damage there. I think us reaching out to them would help that. Maybe utilize Braden to some degree.
I think that's a great idea.
And
That gives us
Eric,
a couple weeks.
but I don't think just relying on you
No.
doesn't work because you don't know all of our situation either.
Exactly.
So you could be going down through and say, yeah, you guys need this or you don't need that. Well,
No.
you don't know that
I
answer.
mean, I could definitely
You'll
pull
get
some of
some of it
that,
when you're
that higher level stuff out there, like you mentioned, but, you're correct. The county needs to be the one
Yeah.
to like merge your, or
Yeah.
keep the one you have and maybe pull from mine or,
Well, and
Like
and you
what?
will tailor yours. You'll be able to, if you are gonna have the time to meet with them, which you haven't yet, you still want to do that.
yes,
between-
yes. I
And that
can
would
do
help you tear some of this out, maybe get them to
So-
suggest some to us.
And I think, yeah, Braden's suggestion was to use yours for the base
Mhm.
and then tailor in things out of ours that we might need to put in there. Rather than the other way around, because ours is lacking quite a bit of the have-tos, I think. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, and I'm not sure, one, how much time we do need to spend. It is wide reaching. I think that's a good thing. I think this might even be something that we send it out the way it is right now. And then over the 30, 60, 90-day training and getting to know more, because I mean, if we're not able to say what needs to come in here today, then I'm not sure that this group will be able to. You know, it's gonna need a lot more time than what we're able to do. It was my expectation that we would go through this line by line today, but with giving it a little bit more time, I think that's prudent. But I think actually going through the training and having Eric put this new person through that training, then we can actually start to tailor what it is a VSO at Custer County could be doing. And this, it's a job description, isn't a contract. It's an idea of what's going on. So I don't think we're harming anything by just putting out a generalized job description, if we wanted to go that route.
So actually agreeing on this one, or maybe going through and tweaking a few things to finish up here today, and then moving forward after the training and then adapting our job description at that time after we have someone on board.
And to point that Tom had made earlier, being very public about things being at least some sort of notice saying that indefinitely that things are changed, or, we're working on.
And the way other county VSOs have handled that is they give veterans, depending on the situation, every county's different. Again, once they have their grant money, they give them a 1 and a 2 strike, or 1 or 2 visit, whatever. After that second visit, I've tried to help you the first time, identify your issues. Second time, I'm giving you a little bit more time to identify your issues. You come back a third time and it's like, I can't do it again. And that's those boundaries I'm talking about. And once veterans know those boundaries are there, they know not to do it. But then we also get veterans who, okay, Custer County won't do it. I'll drive out to Pueblo and try to get something, or I'll drive down to Trinidad or go over to Walsenburg. And so they'll shop around and still try to find this help. But we have a system, it's called VetraSpec. We input all our veterans, the database is what we use for all the veterans here in Colorado. So whenever a VSO helps a veteran, we annotate it in there. That way, if they do go to Pueblo or West Cliff or whatever, we can look in there and see that they have already received help maybe last month, and here they are trying to get help again. So there are tools in place to ensure veterans aren't abusing the system, is what I'm trying to say. But it also helps, like I said, for that county VSO to be able to set those boundaries. I helped you last month, helped you this month, don't come back next month, it ain't gonna be here.
Sure.
I want to address an issue, but I need to ask him a question first. Is that all right? If we go around our county and the contiguous counties, I'm not sure I can name them all, but if I name them, could you tell us if they're VSO? One, do they have one? Secondly, is it full-time or part-time?
Yes, sir.
So if we start with Chaffey County, which you mentioned,
Yes,
full-time or part?
full,
Full. Alamosa County,
full.
And Trinidad, is that in Los Angeles County?
Yes,
Yes.
full,
Full. Pueblo's full,
yes, sir,
Fremont County,
full.
full.
Castilla.
Working on.
That,
Oh, Wetmore, no, I skipped Wetmore.
them two are part-time down there.
Okay.
Castilla and,
Work, no.
yeah. They're part-time.
Yeah, and that's changed, right? Because when I came on board as a commissioner, we were only, other than Pueblo, of course, one of the only counties that had a full-time VSO. So-
Yes, that's changed. So Lida did not used to be full-time. She just went full-time. Sawatch went full-time. He was only a part-time guy. I got him trained up good, so now he can take on a lot more. So once they get trained and they have the support, county VSOs feel empowered. They can do, and they can do a lot more because they got trained the right way. So I do take a little bit of pride in that I've helped veterans, not just through myself, but through all the county VSOs I trained, because like I said, when I came on board, they were barely trained, barely knew what they were doing, didn't have any support from their county leadership. And over time, it's grown and improved. So I do enjoy helping vets in that aspect. We could do the same here in Custer. We can repeat it. We do that same thing here.
And then my question to you, Mr. Chair, as the point of contact, this is in a little opposition to what Braden suggested. Could you serve as the lead on this job description and work with both Eric and Braden and pull that together and have something to present to us? I'm not trying to shirk my duties. I'll be glad to help, but I'm not the point of contact either.
Yeah.
So just trying to move us forward. Here's my concern, Braden, about putting out this job description. And maybe you're coming from a different point, that if we keep this broad, then that avoids getting into this whole expectation thing or whatever. But I think there's some stuff in here that, as Commissioner Kander mentioned, really isn't relevant to our county currently, and I don't think probably in the near future. I mean, he's not gonna have to worry about supervising employees and that kind of stuff. I'd just like to see us marry these two together. Definitely, I would like to see more emphasis on Eric's than on ours, but I think ours has some relevant stuff that we could put in there. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think, and I would also like to have the American Legion and the VFW take a look. Come back. I mean, I should be able to winnow it down, and with your help, I think it'll be very useful. Then we can take a look at it and then toss over the merits. And
I agree, Bill. I think if we could reach out to the commanders of both of them and have if Kevin's willing to do it, pull that group together and say, hey, let's talk about this.
have a little workshop, mini workshop.
The real importance to that for me would be us reaching out to them and trying to heal some relationships.
Yeah, and they're part of the solution. That's why I want to do it, because you own it. You get some ownership. Otherwise, why'd you do that? How come he's not, they get them fighting it because they had issues before.
Yes,
It'll help.
yes. And I think if we could get everyone just to leave the past in the past and look forward, I think we can move things in a better direction.
The county's grown, the county's changed, and those veterans are all part of it.
The timeline for the 27th may be an issue
Because you're gonna be gone.
because I'm gonna be gone for an entire week here, right in the middle of it.
Well.
That would be
yeah,
my
I just-
one issue.
I just threw it out there.
But we got time.
If we wanted to
Middle of
kick
next
that out
month.
to the mid-month for next month,
That would be the right.
to have this thing ready to go. I know I could work that in. I think I might get you to carve a minute or two out if I could.
Like I said, veterans are
And-
being taken care of, and I can appreciate
So-
you wanting to do this right the first, going through. Veterans are being taken care of. They're calling me already, so I know they're being taken care of.
So that's great. We can come up with other ideas. For example, and VSO can have maybe instead of depending on volunteers all the time, maybe it's a veterans resource coordination officer that he has in there with him, somebody that volunteers can rotate that through to help share the load. Or whatever.
Yes,
Something like that. Just get those ideas going.
no, for sure. And there are some county VSOs that have veterans that want something to do. You know, they
Yeah.
left the military, they need to feel some kind of, you know, self-value amongst themselves. And if anything, it's somewhat holistic for those veterans too. They want to help. Maybe they have access to chopping wood and doing it for free.
Yeah, so here you
But
go.
there's
Coordinate this
other
over.
county VSOs that have veterans that utilize their own blessings to help veterans. And, but the thing is, you gotta have a county VSO that's willing to, you know, manage that,
Sure.
have veterans that are gonna be
It's not on
helpful.
his shoulders, just get
Not
somebody else there
hurtful,
helping.
because you can't
Right.
get some veterans in that aren't helping the issue.
That's right.
So you wanna make sure whoever's assisting the VSO is, one, something the VSO wants, not someone who's just gonna come in and bogart.
Select.
And two, they're actually helpful and not hurting
Right.
situations.
Can you give us a quick, if you're capable, able to do this, I don't know if you have this information or not, give us a quick rundown on the status of Custer County and the Veterans Trust Fund.
The veterans, who holds the veteran?
Well, VSO office had been doing that.
Yeah,
That's changed.
okay.
I'm not sure exactly where we're at in that process. I think the American or the VFW had talked about applying for those.
Right, and then I think they got
$VTF.
together and they were gonna submit one grant that was bigger. I don't know if they did that yet or not, but that was sort of where they were headed.
If they submitted it already, I can reach out to Miss Lisa STEM and see if they submitted it. That's usually the way the counties work. It is the county VSO. They're not a nonprofit, so they can't really do it themselves. So for instance, out in Prowers County, the VSO is works with the Elk Lodge. So the Elk Lodge submitted for the grant. They hold the money of the grant, but the county VSO is the administrator. So he's the one that actually is dealing out the money. So there's different ways you can go about administrating how you use that. It's just up to the county on who they want to do. And of course, you know, make sure that MOU is in place, you know, memorandum of understanding of who's doing what and why the grant is there and who's the administrator or whatnot. That way there's everything's defined and there's no misappropriation.
Well, maybe that,
So-
I know they went down that path, the deadline was there, and I think somebody did. I
I
don't,
thought
but you can look in.
Yes, sir, I
VFW
can.
said they were going to
Yeah,
apply,
they
but
would.
whether they did or not, I don't
But
know.
they still have time, because the cutoff's not till, I believe, the end of July or July 1st, one or the other. So they still have time.
Yeah, you can take a look and.
Yes, sir. I
Help
can.
them, help them.
So I might get with you too, right after the meeting today and
Sure.
set some kind of a schedule up here.
Does that mean you're accepting the idea of being the liaison?
I heard the train whistle.
Pulled out with you on the
So-
caboose.
Because really, the only other responsibility you have is just to chair these meetings, right?
Show up and make sure my face is pretty.
Or I'm more than willing, you know, Brandon and I, we can hash it out too and throw it back at you and see how.
Yeah, after you get with everybody.
After I get with everybody. There's gonna be some hard conversations there, because I'm gonna have to bring them up. Thing Jared shared with me. And if
Okay,
we can move past those hard conversations, I don't think it's gonna be.
I
an
think
issue.
they're expecting it and they would like that.
Okay,
They need that.
okay.
They don't need to feel like they're the only ones and there's no voice listening at a bigger level, VA level.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Really
Not a
appreciate your input, very outstanding.
So I guess we probably will not be going through line by line at this time.
Unless you keep bringing it up.
But I think, yeah, we can, between the 5 entities, I guess, the 2 service organizations and the 3 of us tweak this thing around, and he's one of the 5.
You say five.
Yes.
So,
I
so I
see
think
that.
we've got that hammered out pretty good. I think that we will move this, as far as having this job description in place. I would be of a mind to put it on the next mid-month meeting here in Wetmore. That way you don't have to drive all the way back to West Cliff again.
It don't matter.
And
Westwood's pretty
Wetmore
nice.
is the kingdom of the county anyway, so
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Okay.
I just got in trouble on everybody on Zoom here. So,
Chair, can I follow up on the topic about this before we move on?
yes,
Wes reached out to me a couple times last week. Are we okay with Wes having his phone number on the door of the BSO office?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question because that puts liability on you and us.
You brought up a good point, because I said if I could help with the BSO, I didn't take the word BSO out of there. I just said if I give you help, call me.
Yeah.
And I a little bit.
Yeah, I think we ought to take it off. You're the guy they ought to be calling.
I would, especially if it's your personal cell, especially if they know where you live. You don't sometimes want that attention at your doorstep. And you sometimes
And
don't.
we don't want them to think he's running. the
Yeah, you
show.
don't want veterans ranting and raving at you, but we do deal with that a lot too. So just for your own sanity, I mean, everyone appreciates the help, but you might be biting off a little bit more than you're willing to deal with.
Well, they're gonna get referred to you anyway. I just want to jump in.
Yeah, and I appreciated Wes's intent and his desire to help, and I didn't really say yes or no, you could or couldn't. I said, we need to talk about that.
I didn't realize.
So I'm not trying to undercut your
No, no, it's
sense
fine.
of
We
service
changed
here,
sign.
but I think we have to be careful too, because of that very thing. I think people start thinking, well, this guy's running the BSO all of a sudden, don't even know who he is or whatever. I just think we ought to avoid that, so.
If,
I'll pick up on a lot of people anyway, and they don't know where to
Sure.
go. And,
Well, you got Facebook. You can do whatever you want.
I was gonna say that doesn't lie. You can wear a post
You
position.
can be whatever you want to be.
I suppose if you wanted to offer your services and give your name to Eric,
I'll do that.
there's a resource.
maybe rather than putting your name on the door, if Eric
That's
sees a
fine.
need for you there, then he could give you a call and
That sounds reasonable, Eric?
Yeah, yes, sir. It does. Just I don't want anyone taking on, because it does get a lot. And, you know, if you got a veteran in crisis, I understand he's got the mental health background or whatnot, but sometimes a little bit more than that. 'Cause if you meet a veteran in the wee hours of the night by yourself, your mental health experience isn't gonna help you if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Jennifer.
Would you, like for me to put a new note up on the door that says, for help, contact Eric, and then put the American Legion and their numbers?
Yeah, I don't think we ought to go that route yet, specifically without talking to him. I'd say either, I just think probably Eric should be our contact.
Right
person.
now, and you answer emails or voicemails
Everything.
quicker. I know you do. But what would you want to get in Ben?
The phone.
To get a phone number on there. And like,
And I know there is one, I was just going to say to make it a little bit fancier.
Mhm. Just so, yeah, just so they know. I think, right, I haven't driven over it. I think he just has my business card up there. I think, I'm not sure what he has.
It's just your name and number.
Okay.
So, well, and I appreciate this discussion today. Wasn't exactly, we didn't go over the job description per se, but we did. And I think it was valuable, all a valuable discussion, and I look forward to meeting with you some more.
Me
here
too, and I'm
and,
looking forward, more importantly, giving this VSO a good start. I think whatever VSO comes in, it's on, you know, on the county and myself to ensure they got a nice, stable foundation. They feel supported, they feel trained, and they're ready to take on what's going on.
right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much
Yes,
for
sir.
being with us today, and I thank you for your help moving forward on this.
Mr.
It's
Chair,
invaluable.
Can I ask Eric a question when you're done?
Sure,
Are you done?
I'm done.
You're done?
Thanks for stopping
Done
me.
for.
We're afraid you're gonna pound the gavel any second, see? We're nervous.
So in my office, I'm the county clerk and we do the motor vehicle stuff. We send people over to the VSO office sometimes once a week when they need their award letter to get their free plates. Should we just direct them to you, or is there another place we should be directing them until we get a VSO, or what would you suggest?
If it's someone who has email, they can actually call the VA themselves and get their benefit award letter. If
Okay,
you got a veteran that's not savvy with email. If you want to just shoot me an email of their first last name and their last four, I can look them up in the system and then I can send you the letter. It won't be anything instantaneous. You might have to tell them to come back tomorrow or something, but if you
Okay.
send me an email, their info, I can send you the letter back and we can take care of them like that.
You ought to give
But-
her the state email address too, because you said they could do it themselves. So she.
Yeah, if they can email themselves, or if they have an email, they can call the VA number and I can give you that number. And they tell them they need their benefit award letter and the VA will send it to them in 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, nice. Okay,
That's why I was asking, because not everyone does emails.
okay. So I'll just give you a call and get that information.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Good plan.
There's the value
Are you
lunch
done?
today.
I'm done.
So, what do you think about that?
If you feel like.
I'm talking to you.
So, all right, anything else on this discussion / workshop here?
I feel good about it. I think we're headed the right direction, and the thing I really like is that we're just not in this panic mode, that we're gonna tap the brakes a little bit.
That's one thing I was gonna offer. Would you like to see me come out once a week and sit in the office once a week?
Why not? Can you do it?
Yeah, that's something I offer every county when they're down in VSO. I'll come out once a week, put it on the door. If you can, put a PSA out or whatnot, and they know I'm there once a week.
Man, we could have done this meeting an hour ago. We'd be out of here.
Maybe we ought to just hire him.
I was actually judging, like, this isn't
Yeah.
a bad drive from Pueblo.
Oh, we pay a hell of a lot.
Or actually, I've been
more
wanting to
than
get out of Pueblo, so
So-
maybe if y'all could help somebody out buy some nice land.
I don't know if he'd, we'd have to pay his mileage to pay him $9 an hour.
I've moved to West Cliff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we'll provide a house of 35 acres.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
you ain't gonna get nothing else, but.
I'll take the house of 35 acres, sold. I will move in this weekend.
If,
Dave Callahan might not like it, but.
but if you're willing to do that, I think from what I heard when you made your offer, that would be wonderful.
Sure, not a problem.
Can you coordinate that with Jennifer? We can
Yeah,
put
yeah.
a press release out.
That could be
on it.
part of her
Press release
upgraded
going.
sign on the door.
Yeah.
And get a big sign that says VSO
If you could commit. to
replacement
a
in
few
works.
days, we could post
Meanwhile, call.
Okay.
Ron.
that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
very much.
whatever days that you would be
Just to
available.
put yourselves at ease and
Do it.
so you don't feel like you're rushed. So
Good.
when I'm not here, they got a phone number, and if they can wait when I'm here, then they can see me in person. So
Thank you.
make y'all sleep a little better at night.
And you less.
And I'm assuming computer access in that office could be dealt with through IT, right?
Well, I have my laptop as long as I got some, well, I didn't have good hotspot off my phone here in the parking lot, so I don't know what it'd be like.
He's got connectivity over there.
We did have a guest Wi-Fi here.
Yeah, that's how what I had to hook up
Okay.
to.
I was thinking about.
But Jordan just said there is.
Well, I have my own computer and everything, so I'm a traveling road show all this time. I just.
This is Jordan, he's all right, one of our IT guys, so if you're up there on a given day.
Come visit our closet.
Well, I'll be utilizing him once we go to get this veteran service officer down the road hooked up with the VA desktop, remote desktop. I'll definitely need his help.
But you wouldn't need
Working out
to use the,
certificates and stuff like
you
that.
wouldn't need to use the office computer, you have your own.
I have my own computer,
Okay.
just the office,
That's what
just
I
to
was
meet,
wondering.
yeah, but I got my own.
Okay. That's
Very
good.
good, thank you for that offer. That's
Thank you again.
All right.
I'll buy dessert too.
Okay. Our next item then was consideration of posting the VSO position. I believe due to our conversation that we will postpone that at this time, and that would be put on the mid-month meeting for next month.
Already on there.
All righty.
And by the way, mid-month meeting is at the airport next month,
Oh,
not here.
Hamburger.
you have extra to travel, and
That's
it's
fine.
south of town about 20
I
miles.
All right,
didn't know y'all had an airport out here.
We're able to see it.
They'll be cooking hamburgers for us.
You have a plane, you can just fly in.
I wish.
Okay, oh,
So
Chair, we've got some other stuff, sorry.
I believe we did move the consideration of the VSO pickup reallocation to now.
Yeah, I'd move to postpone that.
I do.
Okay,
Not indefinitely, but to a future stated time.
all right. If there's a specific need at any given time, I think we could visit that on a case-by-case basis until we make a
I
decision.
will have them reach out to you because they do have a need, but
Okay,
you okay with that? Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, I parked it over in the sheriff's office. It's secure.
Sure.
They need to haul some materials to Pueblo and I think it's appropriate, would be appropriate use of it. But I'll have to reach out to you if that's.
as long as it came back in pristine condition.
There you go. Full of gas.
New tire.
Full of gas and McDonald's hamburger wrappers.
We don't want any of those in there. Okay, so if we are not addressing that at this time, is there any other additional items of business at this time?
No, sir.
I do have one thing. It's the. it's got
I'll
the-
get you in just a second. That'll be for us up here, and then I'll get you, Bernie, here in public comment then.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't have anything else, sir.
all right,
I-
So-
Kevin,
yes.
I have a few items. I don't know if you want me to tell you now or if you want me to do that during public. comment.
Go ahead and do it now.
Okay, so this is, I just wanted to bring you up to date on some election stuff. I visited with you guys about a month ago about the possible amendment on my Dominion contract for the voting machine. He had gotten me prices on that. And so I think I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with that. And we'll probably put maybe at the end of the month meeting or first Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll put it on the agenda for you guys to approve and sign. Again, that's so that I can get those new printers. We'll actually get our equipment a year early, and that equipment is, there are no capabilities for that equipment to be on the internet or wireless or anything.
Can you prevent a little sticker shock and give us a rough estimate of what kind of money we're talking?
You know, I think you'll be happy because
Good.
right now, like my payment I sent to them in January of this year was 21,000, somewhere around there. We'll have one more payment in 24 of 21,500, somewhere in there. Once we do this amendment, then in 25, my payment will be 15,000.
Wow.
Because we've already paid the bulk of everything, and so now all we're gonna really pay for is new equipment, because all the software and everything we've already paid for.
Good.
So that will help. And then the printers that we have to get, that is right at about 4,000. But we're gonna get a grant from Secretary of State to pay for those. So that won't even be included in the contract, because that will get paid through a grant. So I have to pay for it up front, and then they reimburse through that grant. And then the security updates that I need to do in my office, that were part of some legislation that got passed last year. Those security updates have to be done by June 30th of this year. I was able to get 2 bids on that. One bid was 56,000. The other bid came in at 27,000, but then after they came and did a walkthrough in the office, they were able to come down to 21,000. And the 2 grants that I got, they totaled 24,500. So obviously I went with the 21,000. I talked to another county that they've used them and their sheriff's office has used them and really like them.
And they feel like they can get,
Multi-card is their,
they can meet the deadline.
yes, and they can meet that deadline. I'm working with them right now, getting things ordered and stuff. And then yesterday, we heard that our, the company that I get my ballots printed through, Runbeck, that's out of Arizona, they, because of paper shortages and labor shortages and all the shortages that we have right now, they are not keeping customers that do not spend 125,000 annually with them. We are one of those customers. So there's about 17, 18 of the smaller counties. And we kind of had an email conversation yesterday that we're going to try to get together and come up with, try to go with, find another company and go with the same company that maybe if we all band together, they'll give us a pretty good price. And it'll be easier. to work
For
with.
what now, which
This is the company that prints our ballots.
prints?
Yes, prints them and mails them, gets them all done.
Don't need a machine if we don't have any ballots.
Yes, so we'll have our current company for this year, but have to have the new company for next year. And we have presidential election next year, so I want to make sure that everything's
Have everything nailed down.
yes. And then one final thing, we had a big meeting last night, actually went till 5:45, on a cleanup bill that the Clerks Association is working on. Part of that cleanup bill is, so currently on elections, when the state has questions on the ballot, they reimburse the counties 90 cents per active voter. So for instance, our election in November, we've got 4,468 active voters. They reimbursed us $4,021. It cost the county right at about 17,000 for that election.
Total, for the whole entire election.
Yes. And so we're trying to get the state to pay the counties more, because obviously a big part of the ballot is their stuff. So in this cleanup bill, we're asking for 45% of our costs, not all the costs, but necessary costs. Which 45% of 17,000 would be about $7,600. So that would be a huge help to counties to get that reimbursement. Secretary of State's office was on board with that. And now she's not on board with that. She's fighting that. So I'm not quite sure why they didn't say yesterday, but CCI, I think, does CCI have a legislative meeting today?
Yes, today and tomorrow.
So CCI is trying to help get that pushed through. So I just want to let you guys know so that you can put your 2 cents worth into your legislative people or whoever, however your end of it works. I don't know if, I know, Bill, you said Hickenlooper's not really wanting any,
Make me a bullet.
yeah. But if you could say something maybe to him today, we're just trying to reach out to everybody so that we can, it's gonna be up on the floor tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to get that pushed through and hopefully we can, because that would help immensely. So I appreciate your support. for that.
All right.
I think I've done.
Oh, you have a page.
I did.
All right. Any other additional business?
No, sir.
In here.
All right, that'll take us to the public comment, so I will let you have the floor for a second, Bernie.
Okay, public comment, it goes back to the county attorney, but more importantly, departments using Clint Smith on their documentation. In my professional career, that would be falsification of a government document. So I would encourage the board to act on any individual, any department, anybody responsible for using Clint Smith to take action against the citizen. I have specifics and I can show them to you if you're interested. But at this point, if his signature is on a resolution, something that was approved by the board officially while he was living, then that's appropriate. If his signature, whether it be an electronic signature or a photocopy of his signature, has been used since his death, that's falsification. And particularly when that action is taken against a citizen in the county. It's outrageous. It's unacceptable.
And you think that's
Again,
happened?
Did
I
that
can give
happen?
Specifics, but I would hope that the board would go to every county board, every administrator, and not only encourage them, but ask them, have you taken action against a citizen using our previous county attorney's name on that action? If it's blank, it's blank. It's NA, that there is no one in that position. But if you use that previous county attorney's name, that's a falsification. He did not give his authorization for that signature.
I think we hear what you're saying. I think Bill and I both asked, you believe that's happened?
I
since
know
his
for a fact
passing?
it's happened, and I can show you after the meeting.
More than once? Do you not know?
I don't know. My assumption is that same individual probably has done it more than once, but I don't know. I know it's been used once. And again, in my experience, falsification of a government document, particularly when there's, in my opinion, a victim, is significant and actionable. If that person is willing to falsify a document that potentially causes harm, then that individual needs to be at a minimum addressed.
Couldn't agree with you more. I would recommend that you take that up with the chairman. If he feels it's appropriate, he could share it with the other commissioners.
After the meeting, I'll show you the documentation.
Okay.
But again, if the BOCC would go to every department, send out a group-wise memo. Don't, again, if something is approved by Clint Smith while he was living, of course. But any action subsequent to that is a violation and it must not continue. And that's all.
All right, thank you. I believe Ann Barthrop has her hand up.
Thank you, Kevin. What I want to bring to the attention of the commissioners for their consideration is the property tax situation in the state of Colorado. And just a little tiny background that Governor Polis had said he put forth a plan that would cap residential property tax increases as he promised when the voters repealed the Gallagher Amendment. That has not happened. The Republicans put forth a plan to cap these expected spikes of 40 to 50% over several years. That did not happen. So Douglas County is looking to pass a temporary mill levy credit for their residents to survive the coming property tax hike. And so what I'm asking is for the commissioners to look at this situation and consider what can be done to help Custer County citizens. Thank you. I'd like it to be on an agenda if we can.
Okay, and I did receive an email on that, personally speaking, and that'd be something that we would need to look at, but for us to take any action, it would need to be an agenda item. So we will look at that and see moving forward, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. Anybody else? Not seeing anything else online, nothing here. That being the case, then I will adjourn this meeting at 11:45 a.m. Thank you, one and all.